me, but we're going into battle together.
The world's within my grasp. Tune up now!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 science fiction action film Reign of Chaos, a film that is directed by Rebecca Matthews and it stars Peter Cosgrove, Rebecca Finch, Mark Sears, Georgia Wood and Rita DiTuccio. Right. This focuses on a world in the future that has been gripped by some kind of plague, a plague that is turning many of the population into bloodthirsty zombies, I guess. And the person responsible for this is the evil Lord Chaos. The only thing that could save them are three chosen ladies who are brought together by Rodri, played by Peter Cosgrove, trained up in order to fight back and defeat the evil Lord Chaos. Right, what are my thoughts on Reign of Chaos? Well, this is a low-budget, UK-based science fiction film, so as usual, you're going to have to kind of check your expectations a little bit at the door here. This film is, in some ways, fairly satisfying when you consider everything involved in regards to the budget and everything else. It's one of those films you can buy for, £3 off Asda shelf when it comes out and on sale in a couple of months and put it on with your mates and, and have a laugh and a giggle at, and, it's not going to offend you particularly, but it is definitely not going to satisfy you either. There are a multitude of issues really here that prevents this film from elevating itself above a poor film, because that's essentially what we get, unfortunately, here. It's a poor film. Now, saying that, the performances here, while not outstanding or anything like that, and there's nobody here that stands out as somebody, that really does, present themselves on screen as a strong performer, everybody here is adequate and kind of does what they're supposed to do, even though the characters that we are presented with here are so poorly fleshed out and written that we are not really given anything to care about. There's only one real character, I think it's the Nicole character, who we are given any kind of backstory for, really. But we're supposed to care about all these three girls, really, and you don't. And they don't do a good job as well at, building this relationship, this bond between these three girls. And this Rodri character, is essentially... It reminded me, essentially, this film of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. When the Watcher sought out Buffy and then trained her up to fight back against the forces of darkness. Very much like Buffy in its approach here, this film. However, it borrows lines from things like Highlander, because at one point Rodri directly quotes Highlander, and he calls everybody the One. And it also directly quotes Star Wars and things like that. He presents himself as some kind of Jedi master, because he says things when he's trying to inspire the women and things like that. He says to them, "Search inside yourself, you know this to be true." Now, if this film was kind of a bit of a satire and it was put in like a light comedic approach, you could almost forgive it for that. But it's not. It takes itself way too seriously, this film. So you can't, when it comes out with those really deliberate, cheesy lines, I think if Peter Cosgrove had delivered these lines with his tongue in his cheek a little bit more and kind of, almost winking at the camera, I think they would have worked, these lines. But because the film, unfortunately, takes itself way too seriously, you can't enjoy it when it really steals these lines from other movies. So yeah, there's that. And then for a science fiction action film, it doesn't feel very science fiction-y. There's supposed to be like the streets littered with these zombies, but you only kind of see one periodically, and they don't look very threatening to me. They just look like normal people with a bit of makeup on, with the the jeans and joggers on, charging at you. And at one point in the film as well, these girls have been trained up to face off against this Lord Chaos, the all-powerful being. And then the three of them and Rodri are faced with one of these zombie creatures in the street. Do they face it down and kill it? No, they bloody run away. And I'm just thinking, well, if you can't beat that one bloody zombie in the street, how are you going to beat Lord Chaos, for goodness sake, this all-powerful being? So it was a bit daft and a bit ridiculous. And again, I veered off a bit, but to say this is supposed to be like a science fiction action film, the action scenes themselves aren't very good at all. And some of them are so poorly lit, you can barely see anything. And it's very predictable as well, in the sense of who kind of survives. You know what I mean? You could literally predict it, you know, a quarter of the way into the film when you figure out what's going on. But the film never really becomes anything other than gathering these three women, this Rodri character, attempting to train them up, and then going up against Lord Chaos. There's nothing else really to give this film any grit. Doesn't feel like it's set in any kind of apocalyptic future. It just looks like they're running around the streets of London, and they've just chosen like quiet areas of back alleys and things to film. So it doesn't immerse you at all in the film, and unfortunately, he's not very good, this film, and that's me being quite fair, really. So I can only really give this one a score of 3 out of 10. It doesn't do enough, really. The action doesn't satisfy. The plot and the characters don't really satisfy. And it's a little bit of a letdown. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. I will be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.